So now we can move on to the mods in the game. And we can start with Pep's favorite, active craft time. So let's say we wanted to craft gears. When you change the recipe on an assembly machine, you need to click this button here on active craft time, which this is the extent of what you're seeing here. In order to refresh the recipe. And let's say we wanted to produce one full yellow belt, which is symbolized here by this bar, this progress bar sort of looking thing. And if you simply slide this progress bar, or this slider here, you will... I'm sorry, this is the input. This is the iron input. This is the gears output. If you simply slide this up, eventually you'll see that it produces a full yellow belt of output by using 10 machines, which is the exact same number that we had before, and requiring 30 per second iron input, which is 1 red belt or 2 yellow belts. So this, just like the manual method, the spreadsheet method, and the web-based tool, Kirk McDonald tool, this gives us the same output, the same requirements for this recipe as those tools. One thing that this gives us that those tools don't is a suggestion on the number and type of inserters to use for the inputs and outputs of this machine. So we need one blue inserter to provide enough iron input to produce the gears we need in this machine, and one yellow inserter to output. What I don't know, because I'm using creative mod here, what I don't know is if this is taking into account the modifier of the stack size, because since I've basically given myself all technologies, my inserters now have a stack size of 3. So I suspect this probably takes that into account. So you have to be careful. In the early game, you may need more inserters in order to input, which is why I do the 2 inputs and the 1 output on my gear machines, just to be safe. Yeah, I did notice that perhaps the color of the bar changes to indicate the type of belt. And so this tells you need 100% of a red belt. And if we kept going, now we need this portion of a blue belt to provide this many gears. It does? Okay, good. Does it show... I wish I hadn't cheated all the text in, but does it show the... say more inserters when the stack size is still just 1? Would it show maybe 2 here because it can't insert as much as it needs? That's the real question I'm asking, because I didn't look at this before I had cheated all the text in with creative mode. So we can look at again the other recipes: green circuits, fresh, and you can do shift click to add 10 machines, and then just go back 1 to make it 210, or 2 exactly 10. So now 1 yellow belt of green circuits means we need 1 yellow belt of iron plates and 1 blue belt or 3 yellow belts of gears. Now, of course, in reality, we're going to do that with a different machine and do the direct insertion. So what we can do, I should do it this way, too far. There. Oh yeah, I see the... Oh wait, I did the wrong one. There we go. So, in order to produce 45 copper, which is what we needed here, we need 15 assembly machines, which is what we calculated previously. And we need 22.5 copper per second. So active craft time gives you the exact same information that we calculated in a kind of small, convenient panel here that pops up on your screen whenever you open a machine of any type, including things like chemical plants. Oh, it's 7.5. That's why we can't. So you can't do a half a machine here, unfortunately. Maybe we'll go out to 15. Let's just go out to 15. So we're doubling the recipe from what we calculated earlier. So instead of 7.5 machines, we need 15 machines. Instead of an output of 15, we doubled it to 30. So instead of an input of 15 here, or 7.5 here, we have 15 instead. Instead of 150 petroleum, now we need 300 because we just doubled it. We're producing a full red belt or 2 yellow belts with the same, but the ratio is the same. We just doubled everything. So you can see how you can quickly use active craft time to tell you the amount of machines you need, to tell you the amount of inputs you need for the desired output, just by using the slider. And then one last component here is oil. So advanced oil processing consumes 200 crude oil per second. Oh, I'm sorry. 10 refineries consume 200 crude oil per second and 100 water per second. So that's 100 times 10 divided by 5. And they produce 20 heavy oil per second, 90 light oil per second, and 110 petroleum gas per second for 10 refineries. Unless I'm missing something here, active craft time does not do the calculation automatically into the ideal cracking ratio, but you could do, let's see, so if we wanted to crack all of the heavy oil into light oil, so we wanted to crack 20 heavy oil into whatever light oil it took, we need one machine. Cracking 20 heavy per second into 15 light per second. And then the same thing with light into petroleum gas. We need to crack 15 plus 90, so 105 into petroleum gas. So that means we need 7 chemical plants, which produces 70 petroleum gas. So if we have that 70 petroleum gas plus the 110 petroleum gas, that gets us to the 180 that we calculated on our spreadsheet a little bit ago. Where did my spreadsheet go? Here it is. There. That gives us, again, the 10, 1, and 7 that we wanted to have. 10, 1, and 7 for that ideal ratio, which produces 110 petroleum gas per second. Now, what Peps was talking about earlier, which was, okay, well, you want to siphon off some of the light oil to make solid fuel. And if you're doing chemical science, here, let's make active craft time do what we were trying not to do with the spreadsheet. If we want to produce 1.5 chemical science per second, we slide this up until the product is 1.5 per second here, which means we need 0.75 solid fuel per second, and then some amount of plastic, which we can get to in a minute. But 0.75 solid fuel per second to feed chemical science. So if we then slid this up to, I guess, 1, because we need 0.75, so 2 chemical plants, but really only 1.5 chemical plants making solid fuel. No, just for the ease of numbers, let's double this. Let's double this. So instead of 1.5, let's do 3. Means we need 1.5 solid fuel per second. Just that the numbers kind of equate here. So I don't do half machines and things like that. So we need 3 chemical plants making solid fuel, which means we need to set aside 15 light oil per second, which is conveniently the amount that one of these chemical plants produces. Which means that now we would effectively step this down to 6, because we're now consuming all of the light oil that the heavy oil cracking is producing, 15 per second, here in the solid fuel. So now we are only needing to consume 90 light oil per second net, which is here. So now we're only producing 170 petroleum gas, 60 here and 110 here for plastic. So for the blue science, we needed 4.5 red circuits per second. By the way, the arrow, the first arrow, each click moves it by 1 machine. Each click of this arrow moves it by 5 machines. Shift clicking moves this by 10 and this by 25. And then you can control click this button, or control shift click to add 7 each time. Control shift click to add 31. I don't know why it's 31. And control click to get to 100 quickly, and control click this one to get to 200 quickly. And the same thing here on the step down. You can step down just like you step up, basically. So in order to produce 4.5 advanced circuits per second, we only need 9 plastic. So the 9 plastic is somewhere around 5 chemical plants worth of plastic. It's 4.5 chemical plants worth of plastic. But we're obviously going to want more than that as far as this goes. But the point here is that we're only going to need 90 petroleum gas per second to produce 9 plastic. So we don't even need this much. We don't even need 10 refineries making petroleum gas, we don't even need 10 refineries and this cracking to produce enough solid fuel and enough plastic to make this much, which is twice as much as we were making of the others. Just so you kind of keep that in mind, this is a double. We doubled all of this. We don't even need 10 refineries. We don't even need one of these machines, which you gotta have at least one in order to have any. And we don't need 7 of these. We need quite a bit less to make the same amount, or to make enough petroleum gas and enough solid fuel to power quite a bit of chemical science. Now, of course, you're going to add in the needs for red circuits for the other sciences, for utility science and production science. I think they both need red circuits. Utility science needs blue circuits, which needs red circuits. And you also have the need eventually for sulfuric acid to make batteries or to make blue circuits. So as you can see, this becomes a very complex, even with a tool here, this becomes a very complex calculation to accomplish. Which is why a lot of people just set up a bunch of oil at the ratio of 10:1:7 and use circuit conditions to crack what they need to crack, or to convert what they need to convert to solid fuel, crack the rest. And then make the plastic they think they need, as far as at least in full belt numbers, either a full yellow belt or a full red belt amount. Usually you do 16, and then you just have a little bit of machine idleness there when you want a yellow belt, just so that it's balanced. Then you can output you can just make a little bit more, and then you just keep making a little bit more and a little bit more as you need it. And that's how most people do oil arrays. But understanding kind of the work that goes into it, and having an idea of what you're trying to target is definitely a good idea, so that you're not needlessly setting up more refineries and more cracking. You know with some confidence that you're producing more than enough with 10, 1, and 7 to handle easily through blue science, and probably even through at least through purple science at 1.5 per second. Okay, so that is active craft time.